You don't have a discipline problem. You don't have a motivation problem. You don't even have a consistency problem. You have a self-trust problem, and that's far more dangerous than laziness. Every time you tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow. I'll wake up early. I'll stay consistent this time. I won't quit again," and then you don't follow through, something breaks. Not dramatically, not emotionally, quietly. Your mind doesn't get angry. It doesn't panic. It simply stops taking you seriously. Your words lose authority. At first, it's subtle. You don't notice it happening. But slowly, your inner voice changes. Your goals start sounding like suggestions instead of commands. Your plans feel optional. Your standards feel negotiable. And once that happens, discipline doesn't stand a chance. Because discipline is built on one thing most people never talk about: credibility with yourself. If your brain doesn't believe you'll act, why would it mobilize energy? Why would it tolerate discomfort? Why would it push through resistance? It won't. So it hesitates, it delays, it procrastinates. Not because you're weak, but because your mind has learned something from experience. You don't keep your word. And here's the part most people miss. Self-trust doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes. One skipped workout doesn't destroy it. One late morning doesn't ruin it. But repeated broken promises, those add up. Your mind starts treating your intentions like noise, like background motivation videos. Nice to hear, easy to ignore. And when your own voice becomes background noise, external discipline will never stick. Which leads to a more uncomfortable question, one people avoid because the answer isn't flattering. Why do you keep making promises you don't intend to honor? Is it laziness, or is it something deeper? Because the real damage isn't the missed habit, it's the identity you're training underneath it. And until you understand that, you'll keep restarting and wondering why nothing ever lasts. So before we talk about how discipline breaks, we need to talk about why you keep betraying yourself in the first place. That's where everything actually begins. So if discipline collapses when your own words lose authority, we have to talk about what you've been training your mind to expect. Because whether you realize it or not, every human being lives under an invisible internal contract. A simple one. When I decide something, I act on it. That contract is the foundation of discipline, and most people have been violating it for years. Not with massive failures, not with dramatic breakdowns, but with small, repeated betrayals. I'll do it later. I'll start next week. I'll wake up early tomorrow. I'll get serious after this phase of my life. Each one feels harmless in isolation. Each one feels justified, reasonable, logical, even responsible. But your brain isn't emotional about it. It's observational. It keeps score. And the moment it notices a pattern, that your words don't consistently lead to action, it adapts. Not by shaming you, not by motivating you, by downgrading your authority. Your intentions stop triggering urgency. Your plans stop creating energy. Your goals stop feeling real. That's why goal setting feels empty. That's why planning feels like fantasy. That's why motivation dies within days. Not because goals are useless, but because your mind has learned something dangerous. Your decisions don't require obedience. So when discomfort shows up, your brain doesn't mobilize strength. It stalls, it negotiates, it delays, because history has taught it that you fold when it gets uncomfortable. And this is the part most people never connect. Your mind isn't resisting discipline. It's responding to evidence. Evidence that your word has become optional. Which raises a question most people avoid because the answer exposes them. When was the last time you said you'd do something and followed through no matter how you felt? Not when you were motivated, not when conditions were perfect. When was the last time you obeyed your own decision even while your body and emotions resisted? Because until that happens, discipline will always feel fake. And if your mind doesn't believe your commitments, how could it ever trust you with something harder? Which leads to the next uncomfortable truth. If broken promises destroy self-trust,
Why do you keep making promises you don't plan to honor? That's where the real damage starts. So if your mind has learned that your words don't require obedience, the next question is obvious. What does it do with that information? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your brain is not emotional. It's not inspirational. It's efficient. It doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care about your future self. It doesn't care how badly you want change. It cares about patterns. And patterns teach it what deserves energy. If effort rarely follows intention, your brain stops investing in intention. Not out of spite, not to sabotage you, out of adaptation. Think about it. If a fire alarm went off every single day and nothing ever happened, no fire, no danger, no consequence, eventually you'd stop reacting. Not because you're lazy, because reacting would be inefficient. That's exactly what happens internally. At first, your goals feel urgent, your plans feel real, your self-talk feels powerful. But after enough broken promises, your brain reclassifies your thoughts as noise. "I'll start tomorrow" becomes background sound. "I need to get serious" becomes empty narration. "I can do better" loses all weight. And the most dangerous part? You don't feel this shift happening. There's no alarm, no warning. You just start feeling stuck, unmotivated, disconnected from yourself. You assume something is wrong with you, but what's actually happening is simpler and darker. Your mind no longer trusts you enough to mobilize energy on your behalf. Why would it? Every time it did before, you didn't follow through, so it conserves effort. It withholds urgency. It waits for proof. Which means discipline isn't failing at the level of action, it's collapsing earlier than that. Before habits, before routines, before consistency. It's collapsing at the moment of decision. So here's the real transition point, the one most people never examine. If discipline requires self-trust, and self-trust is already broken, where does the breakdown actually begin? Is it when you skip the work? Or is it when you make promises you subconsciously already know you won't keep? Because that answer changes everything. And once you see it, you can't unsee what you've been doing to yourself. So if discipline collapses at the moment of decision, not during action, we need to look at the habit that quietly destroys decisions before they ever harden. And it isn't failure, it's delay. Most people think big mistakes ruin discipline. They think quitting is the problem. They think falling off track is the damage. They're wrong. "I'll do it later" is far more destructive because it doesn't feel like weakness. It feels responsible, mature, reasonable. "I'll start when things calm down." "I'll do it when I have more energy." "I'll take this seriously after this phase." No collapse, no explosion, no visible failure, just postponement. But psychologically, delay trains your brain to learn one dangerous rule. Action is optional, and optional action never becomes identity.
When something is optional, your brain doesn't anchor it to who you are. It treats it like a preference, a suggestion, a nice idea. That's why people stay inconsistent for years without ever falling apart. They still wake up, they still go to work, they still function. From the outside, they look fine, but internally, something is decaying. Authority erodes. They stop trusting their future selves. They stop expecting follow-through. They stop believing effort actually leads anywhere, not consciously, quietly. They make plans, but don't feel urgency. They set goals, but don't feel pressure. They say they care, but don't feel commitment. And once that belief settles in, something strange happens. Discipline doesn't feel hard anymore. It feels fake. Going through the motions feels pointless. Trying feels theatrical. Effort feels like pretending. because deep down, their mind has already decided that effort doesn't change outcomes. And that's the most dangerous belief a person can carry. So here's the question that should bother you. If repeated delay trains your brain that effort doesn't matter, what happens to a person who stops believing their own effort has meaning? What kind of decisions do they make after that? And more importantly, how do you rebuild discipline once belief itself is damaged? That's where this gets uncomfortable. So when effort starts feeling fake, when discipline feels like an act instead of a standard, something deeper than habits is already dying: self-respect. And here's the part most people misunderstand. Self-respect is not built through achievement. It's not built through success. It's not built through praise or validation. Self-respect is built through alignment. Doing what you said you'd do, when it's inconvenient, when it's boring, when no one is watching. That's it. And when that alignment disappears, self-respect doesn't shatter dramatically. It decays quietly. You still talk confidently. You still post quotes. You still imagine a stronger future version of yourself. But internally, something feels unstable. You hesitate before committing. You avoid locking in timelines. You resist structure. Not because you're incapable, but because structure would expose inconsistency. And that exposure hurts. Because structure doesn't care about potential. It doesn't care about intention. It only reveals patterns. And deep down, you already know the truth. You're not lacking talent. You're not lacking opportunity. You're not lacking intelligence. You're lacking proof. Proof that your words still carry weight. Proof that your decisions still matter. Proof that you can be trusted by yourself. And this is where most people get stuck. They don't hate themselves enough to quit, but they don't respect themselves enough to commit. They live in the middle, avoiding standards, avoiding accountability, avoiding situations where their inconsistency would be visible. Because once it's visible, they'd have to confront the question they've been avoiding for years. Who are you if your words don't mean anything? That question destabilizes identity. And when identity starts cracking, people don't usually fix it, they protect it. Which brings us to the next uncomfortable reality. If broken self-respect hurts this much, why do people keep putting themselves in environments that guarantee they'll fail? So when self-respect starts decaying, when your words lose weight, when structure feels threatening instead of stabilizing, that's when most people make a mistake. They think discipline failed because they didn't try hard enough. It didn't. Discipline failed at the identity level. Because discipline isn't about effort. It's not about grinding harder. It's not about pushing through emotions. It's about identity consistency. Disciplined people don't wake up motivated. They don't wake up inspired. They don't wake up excited. They wake up expecting obedience from themselves.
That expectation didn't come from confidence. It didn't come from hype. It didn't come from talent. It came from repetition. Hundreds of moments where a decision was followed by action. Not because it felt good, but because it was decided. That's why discipline looks automatic for them and impossible for everyone else. Two groups, two patterns. One group trained self-trust. The other trained negotiation. And negotiation kills discipline faster than laziness ever could. Because every internal debate weakens authority. Should I do it now or later? Maybe I'll rest today. I'll make up for it tomorrow. Each question teaches your brain the same thing. Your decisions are discussable. And once decisions become negotiable, discipline collapses. Not all at once, gradually. That's why people feel stuck in cycles, starting strong, fading fast, restarting again. They aren't failing because they lack discipline. They're failing because they never stopped asking permission from their emotions. Disciplined people made a different internal shift. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask one question only: "Did I decide?" And once that question is answered, the debate ends. Which brings us to the turning point most people avoid. If discipline is rebuilt by changing how you treat decisions, what's the first decision you have to stop negotiating with yourself about? Because without that shift, everything else is just performance. So if discipline is rebuilt by changing how you treat decisions, then the real question isn't how hard you push, it's how honest you are. Because self-trust is not rebuilt through intensity. It's not rebuilt through dramatic resets. It's not rebuilt through one perfect week. It's rebuilt through small promises kept consistently. Promises so small you can't negotiate with them. You can't rationalize breaking them. You can't postpone them without lying to yourself. 5 minutes of focused work, one set of exercise, one uncomfortable action you said you'd do, done. Not impressive, not cinematic, reliable. And that's the part most people miss. Your mind doesn't need proof of greatness. It doesn't need big goals or extreme effort. It needs proof of honesty. Every kept promise restores authority. Every follow-through rebuilds credibility. Every action that matches your word repairs alignment. Slowly, something shifts. Decisions start carrying weight again. Plans start feeling real. Discipline stops feeling like force, not because life got easier, but because your mind believes you again. You don't have to hype yourself up. You don't have to wait for motivation. When you say you'll do something, your system prepares to execute. And that's what real discipline feels like. Not pressure, not struggle, clarity. Which leaves only one unavoidable decision. Not about what habit to start, not about what routine to build, but about something deeper. Because once you understand how self-trust is rebuilt, you can't hide from the final question. Are you willing to stop lying to yourself, even in small ways? That's what determines everything. The next promise you make to yourself is not neutral. It will either rebuild self-trust or destroy a little more of it. So before you commit to anything big, ask yourself one brutal question. Will I keep this no matter how I feel? If the answer is no, don't promise it. Because discipline isn't built by ambition, it's built by integrity. And before you leave, stop. Don't comment yet. Think. What's the one promise you keep breaking that you never admit out loud? The one you justify, the one you delay, the one you tell yourself doesn't really matter. That promise is costing you self-respect every single day. Now here's where most people back out, because this removes excuses. Write it in the comments. Not a paragraph, not a story, just one sentence. If you're serious, start it like this. I've been lying to myself about. Most people will scroll because writing it makes it real. If you don't comment, nothing changes. If you do, you just took back authority. And if this exposed something you've been avoiding, stay here. Share this with someone who keeps promising change and never proving it. And subscribe, not because it feels good, but because you're ready to start keeping your word. This isn't motivation, it's a mirror. And if you're still listening, you already know why you are.